Up? This is Craig Mabbitt from Escape the Fate and Dead Rabbits, and you're watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 371 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm finally have the honor and privilege to speak with the great Craig Mabbitt from Escape the
What's
Fate
up?
and also Dead Rabbit. So, how are you doing today, Craig? It is so great to
I'm
finally have you.
doing good, man. Thank you for having me. Hope you're doing well. How was your day? How was work?
It was good. I was like hauling ass to get home, but I've managed to get home like about a few minutes ago.
Nice. Yeah,
And
where are you located?
I'm actually like northwest of Atlanta, Georgia, in this town called Dallas, Georgia.
Okay. Yeah, so you're way further east than I am.
Yeah, so I'm guessing like you're around in Vegas still.
Arizona.
Oh, Arizona.
Yeah,
So-
and Arizona right now is an hour ahead of everybody else because I forget. We either do or don't do daylight savings time when everybody else in the same time zone
yeah.
does. So it gets a little confusing for a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, especially in the East Coast. Like I think we have like the this daylight savings time, which kind of like fucks me up a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So what? It's like 8 p.m. for you right now?
It's actually 7:19 right now.
See, it's supposed to be 4:19 for me, but it's 5:19.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But
Uh-huh.
it's great to be able to have you, man. So kind of the form of the show is I want to talk about like your musical history and sort of do a rundown of your discography. But take you back to young Craig Mabbitt. So growing up in Arizona, what were the first bands that got you into metal and what made you want to be a vocalist?
Um, well, I guess we'll start with what made me want to be a vocalist. So I always liked music. I was a band nerd. I started playing the violin was my first instrument in third grade. And I was a military kid, so I moved around a lot, moved schools. And the school I was in had a string section and I wanted to join. So I joined. Um, and then we moved. And the new school I went to in the new state did not have a string section, but I still wanted to be involved in a band class. So I had to find a new instrument to play. And I remember being at the music shop and talking to the guy that owned it, and he was trying to find a new instrument that I was interested in. And he said, "Do you like the saxophone?" And at the time, I loved the saxophone because I was a big fan of like 50s rock and roll when I was a lot younger. Like I would go into my dad's vinyl collection and he had like REM and Motley Crue and Def Leppard and stuff like that. So I always liked the old rock and roll stuff. But for a period of time, I was really into like 50s rock and roll. And instead of guitar solos, they always had like a sax solo in some of those songs. So I'm like, yeah, I like the saxophone. He's like, well, the hand placement is kind of similar. Just instead of being up here, you're going to move it and you're going to be down here. So I switched to the saxophone. And years later, moved high schools, no more open seats in the band class. Uh, so I switched to choir. Um, and I was always really into music. I was always singing along to all those songs and stuff like that. And I loved being in the choir. And it was around that time that I was like, I kind of want to do this. There was like a band that had started in the high school too, and they would play some shows and stuff. And I thought that was rad. Um, and then my first concert I went to, like live concert, was Project Revolution. It was Linkin Park, Mudvayne,
Wow.
Hoobastank, Cypress Hill.
That screams early 2000s right there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I was front row, breaking my ribs, singing along to every song. I left, my eardrums were bleeding because I had just never heard live music
Yeah.
that like that loud
Yeah,
before.
like Hybrid Theory and Meteora both slap still. Don't care what
Oh
anybody
yeah,
says. They're like those
oh yeah.
gateways that if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have gotten into like death metal when I got older.
Oh, for sure. It was them and the used
Oh
that
yeah.
kind of like opened it up for me.
Yeah.
And I just started getting heavier and heavier and heavier from there. But I remember leaving that concert like that's what I have to do. Like that was I have to be on stage one day. That was amazing. And shortly after my first concert, there was a band that was performing locally around Arizona, and my family was still, every Sunday getting me up and taking me to church. And this band showed up and played the church, and their name was Greeley Estates. And I
Yeah,
was
I've heard
like,
the
"Oh,
name.
you guys are from Arizona? Like, when are you going on? I can't believe you came and played our church. That's so rad." And this is what opened my eyes to the local scene, right? Because My parents never let me out of the house. I didn't go to my first concert till I was a freshman in high school.
That was around the
So,
time for me too.
yeah. So I'm like, wait a second. Bands still play shows if they're not like selling out arenas. Like I had no idea. I didn't know the tiers of venue sizes or like
Me
that
either.
cities had local seats. Like no idea. I was just really into music, never got a chance to leave the house. So that was the band that opened my eyes. They invited me to their show. And then I would go to every single Greeley Estate show that they were having locally. Um, every single one. I mean, I think it was their second album they came out with. I'm in the thank yous for being part of the first four because there was a few of those shows where it was just me and three other people at the show as they were growing. So around the same time they were growing, this is when I was like, I need to find, I want to write music. I want to be in, this is what I want to do with my life. Like I knew I wanted to do something in music. And then it was the band thing that I decided this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Um, so I tried figuring out how I could make that happen. And there was a website at the time that was called azpunk.com. And it essentially was just a like a forum sort of website where a bunch of local musicians would post on there, hey, looking for a guitar player, hey, looking for a bass player, blah, 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 blah. So I messaged a couple uh users that said they were looking for a singer.
Yeah.
And there was this band called Autumn Came Early that was looking for a singer. I went and I tried out. I sang to a used song. They were like, yeah, you could be in the band if you want. We loved it. And I'm like, all right, sick. We played one show, which was a battle of the bands, and we actually won the battle of the bands, which was awesome. But the guy that was announcing the battle of the bands kind of made fun of our band name because if I remember correctly, from not from Ashes to New. What the heck was the other Autumn band? Why am I drawing a
From
blank right
Autumn to
now?
Ashes.
From Autumn to Ashes.
Yeah, I've
Yes.
heard about them.
They were pretty big at the time. And so the announcer of the Battle of the Bands was like kind of picking on us, thinking we were trying to name ourselves after that band. So I remember all the other guys were like, we got to change our band name. We had like, I don't even remember how many band meetings, but we ended up on Bless the Fall,
Ooh,
which was
nice.
like,
Led me right into there.
yeah. And we were like, oh, not three separate words. It's got to be one word together. And they
Like
continued
Madonna.
doing that. Yeah, they continued doing that for years. And that was my first start. And then, we just started building up our following in the local scene. And
Yeah.
um, I was like, how do we grow from here? And we played some shows with Greeley Estates, which is kind of full circle. Like I feel like my life has been just all these different full circle things that have been happening. And I'm like, oh, here we are. We're playing some shows with Greeley Estates. Like we're doing it. We're on our way.
Yeah.
And I met their manager at a show, and then I just bugged the hell out of that guy until he managed Bless the Fall. So that's how I got my start
Yeah.
in in music.
Yeah. But tell me about like that first Bless the Fall demo, Black Rose Dying, which hard to believe it's now been 20 years since it came out. So what was sort of that
Wow.
recording like? Was that like the first time you like being in the studio, like recording?
Oh, yeah, I remember my first time getting in a studio wearing the headphones and being on the mic and um I just didn't know what it would sound like. I remember I like whispered something kind of aggressively and they played it back in the room. I was like, "Whoa, that sounds sick." Because I was a baby. I had no idea what the process was like, what it was going to sound like. So I was having a great time. You know what I mean? Like being in a band, writing music, and being in a studio to work on your song. This was like, oh my God, we're making it happen. I'm so stoked. This is amazing. So yeah, we came out with an EP that we just would hand out at our shows. And when it comes to Black Rose Dying specifically, which is very funny because I've been tagged a couple times in the last year from this video that made its way on YouTube from a Bless the Fall show at a place called Neckbeard Soda Bar here in Arizona.
Oh,
And
that's
we're
a hell of a
playing Black
name.
Rose Dying. Yeah, we're playing Black Rose Dying. And it was not Black Rose Dying at the time. We got an offer to play the show. We didn't have enough songs to fill our scheduled time slot. Like I hadn't written to the other song that we had to play. There was no vocals for it at all. So the funny thing about that video that's on YouTube, I'm not saying anything. I'm just like I'm winging it, dude. I'm like straight up winging it. I think I'm like screaming, "La, la, 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 la."
Hey,
just
that's fucking metal,
nonsense,
man.
trying to make up stuff like literally on the spot. And so when we got in the studio to work on the album, that song specifically, as much as I hate that that video found its way on YouTube and it still haunts me to this day, that was the exact video that I watched over and over and over, the recording of that show. And I wrote to whatever it sounded like I was trying to say or whatever I was saying. I just sat down and wrote lyrics and it became Black Rose Dying, the recorded version, but it was based off of whatever I was riffing at that Neckbeard Soda Bar show.
Yeah.
So that was weird. And then it
Yeah.
ended up being like a fan favorite song, which is pretty
Yeah.
funny.
And then, of course, going into the next release, which was the self-titled EP from '06, and another good release. I thought was like you kind of like really refined like the Bless the Fall sound at the time. So, well, was that sort of like the mindset going into making like the that self-titled EP?
Um, it's tough to get in the mindset that I was back then, but I can tell you it was a completely different mindset than I get into today. Like there was no we weren't really writing music for anybody else at the time, which is like that's something I try to chase still to this day, that feeling of not caring what anybody is going to say about it because you're just having fun creating music that you want to create and you love. And it's an amazing thing, but I would assume it happens to a lot of artists. Like when you're just getting started, you're just writing music, you're just having fun, and you're just playing it and enjoying your time. Um, and then let's say you get some success, like Bless the Fall had some success off of that album, even though our manager at the time said this record doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't sound cohesive. I don't think it's going to take you guys anywhere. Here we are talking about it 20 years later. Um, you kind of end up getting into a position where it's like, all right, here was all the fans' favorite songs, or even flash forward to today. Here's all the songs that are streaming the best. So do we lean more into the style that we're doing for the songs that are streaming the best? Or do we just not pay attention to any of that stuff? Or, you'll release a song and you have your fans that are like, I've been a fan for 20 years and this is the worst piece of crap I ever heard in my life. What do you guys think you're doing? And you're like, is it? I thought it was cool. It's like you kind of lose yourself a little bit. So over the course of 20 years, it's like I'm finding my way back to just who cares, man? Like I wanted to do music. I am grateful that I've been able to do it, just period, let alone for coming on 20 years now.
Yeah.
So getting back to just writing it for myself has been very, very enjoyable, which is another reason why I have the Dead Rabbits project is it's just like a creative outlet where I can really just do my thing exactly the way that I want to do it.
Yeah. And then you got signed to Science Records and you put out His Last Walk. In my opinion, one of the
Yeah.
best metalcore debut albums of all time. So, what was it like making this album?
It was fun. It was my first record experience. So I was having the time of my life. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like
That's your
guy
favorite one?
yeah, I mean I like also like Witness and I also like some of the other stuff that they did after you left too, but I love this album.
Oh
Like
yeah,
Guys
Witness.
Like You
Witness
Make
was
Us
great.
Look Bad, Hignia, yeah, yeah, Pray, like this whole album's
So
solid from
that
start to
that
finish.
one that song is pronounced Ehinia.
Hignia. Yeah.
Ehinia. Yeah,
Oh,
that was my grandmother's name.
oh wow.
Yeah, so I know I talk to a lot of people sometimes and they say, "Oh, my favorite song is Hygienia or this or that," and it's just my grandmother's name, but it's pronounced Ehinia. But I always find that funny because it's like sometimes it doesn't even matter what the name of the song is because people just call it whatever it looks like it says, and they're like, "I
Yeah.
just like
I
it."
thought it was Hignia for a long time. I was like, well, my
Yeah.
whole life's a lie now. Yeah.
I should just start saying that's what it
Yeah.
is.
But I know
But I had a
Reese
great time making that. Recently, they invited me out to their
yeah.
show. I got to perform
Yeah,
one
I
of the
saw the
songs for
video of
them.
that. What was that whole experience like playing with the
It was
guys again?
like I said earlier, it was another full circle moment. It's like this is where I came from, and here we are back in Arizona on stage together and just playing a show and having a good time and sharing the music with people and seeing the joy on people's faces and them singing along. Like there's no better feeling. That's why I got into it to begin with, because that was me. in the crowd doing that. So,
Yeah. What was like the touring cycle like for his last walk? Was that like the first time you're sort of like playing like outside of Arizona?
oh yeah, our first tour ever was actually in Canada, um, with a band called Bleed the Dream. So our first tour wasn't even in the States, but our first out of state show we ever did is because there was a band getting some hype on MySpace from Colorado. They were called Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Full circle moment. They were also on the Bless the Fall show that I just went up and sang with them
Yeah.
like a month
Wow.
ago. We
Holy
saw that they were doing an
2007.
album release. We were getting ready to do an album release, so we just DM'd. Were they even called DMs back then? Who knows? We messaged them on MySpace and we're like, hey, we see you guys are doing an album release. We're doing an album release. How about we come out to Colorado and play yours, and then you come out to Arizona and play ours? And they agreed. So that was great. We felt like we were making connections, and oh, we're going to start hitting the road. And the touring process of that was crazy. A lot of growing pains for sure. When we got to the point where we were going to start touring fairly heavily, um, I had my daughter was born,
Oh, wow.
so I had a lot of difficulty leaving town.
Yeah.
Um, finding ways to self medicate
Yeah.
how I was feeling so I could just drown out the way I was
Yeah.
feeling.
Because being a dad, that sort of has to like change like your perspective on life.
Oh yeah, that's what ultimately led to me leaving in the first place. We ended up on tour over in the UK, and I just didn't know if I could handle it. I was like, maybe I just need to go work the drive-through somewhere or something. Maybe music's not for me. Like I was just gone way too much. I was coming home with not much to help raise her. You know what I mean? So it was like, I guess I get a job at Babies R Us so I can get a discount on diapers,
Yeah.
which I did work at Babies R Us to get a discount on diapers. That's true.
Yeah.
Um, so it was rough. And then, when that happened, I came home and I had a lot of time to think, and I was like, I'm I'm gonna hate myself if I don't take these opportunities when I have them. And I just gave one of these opportunities up, and that downtime eventually led to me finding myself with Escape.
Yeah.
But those self-medicating ways that I was trying to get through my days of leaving town, those lasted far too long.
Yeah. But I know it was like before you joined up with Escape to Fate, you did the Ward Alive, you did that 2008 thing. Was that sort of like something thing? Because I remember you saying in the interview you were sort of that was sort of like a side project before you joined up with Escape to Fate.
So it didn't start as a side project. It started as like my new thing. So the timing gets all mixed up because the timing was mixed up and it was so long ago, and my memory is so wiped from like those years of just partying way too hard. And um so I might get the timing wrong, but I got called to come fill in for 3 shows for Escape. I remember talking to them because I believe Bless was moving on at the time, or they had like a fill in, something was going on there. And I was like, it's really tough to replace a singer.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I
maybe,
always
maybe,
say.
yeah, maybe you guys should give him another chance. So there was an allotted period of time. I can't remember how long it
Yeah.
was,
Was
but
it before
after I
Bo?
played, this was before Bo. Yes. I'm pretty positive yes, it had to have been before Bo,
Yeah.
because I went out, I did Extreme Thing, Bamboozle. Was it Extreme Thing, Bamboozle, and Chain Reaction? I think those were the three that I filled in for. Then I said you should give him another shot. It's really hard to replace a singer. And I can't remember who I got a call from the band. It was either Max or Robert. Um, and they said that they were going to
Yeah.
bring Ronnie back. And thanks so much for coming out and helping them do those shows. I'm like, oh yeah, you guys got it. So during this time, I can't remember if it was 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, who knows how long. I went back to Arizona and I started a new band. There was a couple of dudes I had met from playing shows at Bless the Fall, and we formed the Word Alive, and we started working on some demos and stuff like that. Um, I was living with the drummer. Uh, his name's Tony Aguilera, and I actually just filmed a Dead Rabbits video with him for Trapped. So
Nice.
we still talk and keep in touch. And Dustin, who played the keyboards when I first started the band, he's on Storage Wars now, which is pretty crazy. Um, so at some point, I get a call to come back with Escape because they needed me to come back. I guess it didn't work out or whatever. So during that process, how I ended up going back to them, my now brother-in-law John Feldman heard that I was officially joining the band, and he had seen us perform at the Key Club in California when Escape and Bless the Fall was doing a tour together. It was called the Black on Black tour. Um, and he heard that I had joined the band. He's like, I have to do the record. So it was kind of like almost immediate. We were on our way to California to go track, which what became This War Is Ours at Feldy's house. That one.
Yeah, my
And
favorite Escape the Fate album.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I remember the
That
last
one, the
time I
B
saw you,
side
you
one,
played this in four.
that song Bad Blood, that's on the deluxe edition. I still love that one, man. I wish
Yeah.
we would redo it.
Yeah, I always say like sometimes I don't say this much, but I feel like sometimes the B-sides are better than the actual singles with some bands.
Oh, with us, the B sides are always better because those are always the songs that I really like, and Robert says he doesn't. So he convinces everybody else that it should be a B side, only for him a year after the album comes out, go, man, you know what? That song's really good. We should have put it on the album. I'm like, you said this for like 7 albums in a row now, Robert. When are you just gonna start listening to me?
Nice. Nice. But making This War Is Ours, what was sort of that like being as you're now like the new front man for Escape the Fate?
It was nerve wracking, but I was so excited and enamored to be working with Feldy that kind of overshadowed um my anxiety and my depression and my fear of what am I doing? This is my second chance. I just need to buckle down and do it. Because as I said when we were talking earlier, Linkin Park and The Used is what kind of opened the doors for heavier and heavier and heavier music for me. So The Used had that Maybe Memories DVD. Feldy's all over that DVD. And I'm like, man, one day if I could work with him. And here I was working with him. So that excitement kind of overshadowed my fears. But hell yeah, man. It was fun. I was so happy to be working with him. We were just hanging out as a band at these live-in apartments called the Oakwoods, just working on the songs and talking about the future and this new era. But I will say it was nerve-wracking to track songs like Ashley
Yeah.
and know where I was coming from and be like, man, if I got fans that are going to follow me from Bless the Fall over here, I wonder what they're going to think about Ashley, baby. I'm like,
It's a catchy song, man, not
what
gonna
am I
lie.
doing? People are going to hate this. And guess what? Flash forward 20 years later. I love Ashley, man. That's a great song.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but I feel like it's the most diverse Escape the Fate album. Like going to like We Won't Back Down to Ashley to something to even the title track to even 10 Miles Wide. It has like a different vibe of how you and everybody was at the time.
oh yeah, yeah, and we've always tried to have um the difference in every song because every single one of us in the band, whether it be members that have come and gone or members that have stayed, like me and Robert, we all like so many different things individually and as a group. Sometimes we all agree on something we like. Most of the time, we all like something completely different. Like Robert just can't get old school metal out of his head. He's an old school metalhead. So he's like, we got to write like Metallica type songs, and then he'll come in with an idea, and it's the poppiest shit you've ever heard. Like songs like Ashley are his favorite songs to write. So it's
Really?
so confusing to know where his head's at because you know what he likes and he listens to all the time. He'll say that he wants to write something like that,
Then
but
goes the
then
opposite.
goes the complete opposite direction. So it's always very confusing. And then me, I always want to get like, let's tune the guitars down. Let's have more chugs. Let's have more breakdowns. Let's have more solos. Like, I just want to rip it and be heavy and have fun. So we always try to find the middle ground. And, for a lot of records there, even the newest record that we just finished tracking, it's being mixed right now. Robert is still like, hey, we don't have a ballad. We got to do like the slow ballad song. I'm like, there's a song that you could classify as like the slower song on the record. You don't have to, I feel like for a record or two there, we got stuck in wanting to do that so much that we felt like we needed to. And that turned itself into very clear, like, oh, here's the heavy song from the record. Oh, I guess this one's the ballad from the record. It got to, I guess if I'm looking at it from a fan's perspective, it got way too predictable, so we're just kind of finding our way. And obviously we're growing as individuals, and our music tastes are changing and stuff like that. So everything grows with it, and it's always fun to experiment. But I'm really, really excited about the new stuff. It gives me that nostalgic feel with like kind of a touch of modern. Um, but at the end of the day, if the band likes it, we're gonna drop it, and hopefully the fans like it too.
Yeah. But what was sort of like the whole like touring cycle like for the with the Swords Hours? Like how were like the fans reacting like with you being the new singer?
They were reacting pretty well. I mean, the band was growing and growing and growing, and the team at the time was like, every time you guys go out and headline, it's the biggest headlining numbers that the band has ever had. Um, because what I don't think a lot of people realize is none of these bands were very big back then. You know what I mean? Like, if I might be wrong, so don't quote me on it, but I think the biggest show that we did when it was Me Still and Bless the Fall, when it was Escape, Bless the Fall, Love Hate Hero, Before Their Eyes. Who else was on it? Was it Dance Gavin Dance?
Well,
I think it might have been Dance Gavin Dance because Johnny was there. And it was so long ago that it had to have been when he was still with Dance Gavin. So I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty positive it was. I think the biggest show might have been a little less than 500 people, So it was like all that, me coming in and him getting locked up for a bit and him coming out and all that stuff just made the story, made everything so much bigger than what it actually was. So the band actually started growing, and it was great. And then as time went on and the story of how like the more success This War Was Ours was having, the more people were getting into the band, the more people were reading about it, the more people were finding out, if they were a new fan, oh, Craig wasn't originally in it. And then
yeah.
the original stuff was getting really big. The story was building. And then Ronnie got out and just blew it out of the water. The label was waiting and ready. And he had so much time to write songs while he was
Yeah.
away. He just came out and just blew it out of the water. It was amazing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and I know you during that time you also had some like shit talkers, which nowadays you don't really care. It doesn't happen that much these days. So how'd you deal with all like
Oh,
the
it's
people talking
it's
shit still? And does that
I
even still
mean,
happen at all any because I don't think I see it really any anymore.
oh, it still happens to this day, which is crazy because it's been so long. But I mean, I've dealt with it so long now at this point, it's just like, all right, man. But back then, you know, I don't I don't think I was handling it very well. Like I'm my own worst critic, and I have my self-confidence like is so so low sometimes, the
Yeah, we all
majority
have
of the
that.
time. Oh yeah. So I wasn't handling it very well. And so my drinking problem was getting worse and worse and worse. And it was like it took a lot of years for me to kind of focus my attention and change my perspective on things. It could be a sold out Starland Ballroom in New Jersey, for instance. I remember when we were on our self-titled tour and we sold that place out, and it was like the biggest venue of the tour. Um, and everybody singing along, everybody was energetic. It was a great show. But I felt like crap because I feel like I was focusing on the one person that was just like kept giving me the middle finger. So it was
Yeah.
like I had to just not pay attention to that stuff
Yeah.
anymore.
Which now it's all water under the bridge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It would be a cool thing if there was Escape the Fate Falling in Reverse tour because, next year we'll mark 20 years of dying as your latest faction. It would be a cool way to like celebrate that somehow with Ronnie.
Oh yeah, I agree. It would be fun. I mean, we've done it two times already. So I think the first one was it 2013 or 2014, but it was called Bury the Hatchet. And that was the first time we toured together. And then we did another tour together with The Word Alive. um,
Well,
called the Drug and Me is Gold tour. Um, because that album went gold, and that was right before COVID. And then COVID hit. Like I remember the very last show ended up being canceled. We came back to Arizona. We played another show, and then it was like the following week after that, everybody did not know what was happening. Like, are we never going to tour again? Is our music career over? Are we just like sit at home, write music, and live stream our performances now? Like nobody, we had no idea what was going on or what was going to happen or when we were going to be able to be active again. So it was a very confusing time.
yeah. And then going into the self-titled album, I like this album.
Yeah.
What was it sort of like, kind of like going from This War Is Ours to self-titled? It's kind of hard to describe it. Almost kind of feels like kind of like two different opposites.
They were two different opposites, and I think that had a lot to do with Monty um at the time. You know, you had me, I wanted to go back in the studio with Feldy really bad. Um Obviously This War Is Ours was a success for us, so why wouldn't we go back with John? And I loved working with him. And um Monty just was going in a complete opposite direction of what he was envisioning as far as the style went, and wanting to work with a different producer. And also at the time, we were getting an offer from Interscope Records uh, to sign with them, and they wanted to buy us out of our Epitaph deal. So I still look back at that, and yes, at the time it was exciting, but I always wonder if the band just listened to me, what it would have been like if we just went back with Feldy and stayed on Epitaph.
Yeah.
I bet you we probably would have done more tours with Falling in Reverse when they were getting active, because that's still the label that they're on. But we didn't go that route. You know, he convinced everybody, and we decided to try our hand at Interscope and go in the studio with John Gilmore and work on the self-titled album, which was interesting because this was again another producer who did Linkin Park.
Nice, because
So
he
it's
produced
like,
those first two albums.
exactly. Here's the full circle thing again. I'm like, oh my God, the two bands that kind of opened the floodgates for me. And I worked with John on the first album, and now I'm working with Don on the second one. Like, I'm working with both of them. This is great. So I was having a good time. It was tough to get all the songs together, and get everybody in the studio, but I'm happy with how it turned out. I still like a lot of songs on that album,
Yeah. And hard
and it
to
was very
believe it's
exciting
been
times.
15 years since this came out. And I'm always curious because when
Wow.
a band does like a self-titled album, I always feel like it's like especially if it's in the middle of their career, it always feels like it's a change or like a new start. Was that sort of like the reason for it being self-titled?
Yes, because This War Is Ours was kind of got thrown together. It was like they called me to come fill in for those three shows we were talking about. Then I wasn't. Then I started this other group. Then they asked for me to come back. Then we were like on our way to the studio. It's like, okay, what are we doing? We had to like find ourselves. And Feldy was a huge helping hand in us finding ourselves, as far as like me being the vocalist of this band now. So once we started writing even more for the second album, it was like, okay, I think this is working. Like, look at all these opportunities we're getting. One of the biggest labels in the world, Interscope, it wants to sign us, and we're signing to them. Like, I think now's the time to just be like, we're Escape the Fate, self-titled album. So
Nice.
that's exactly why we made that decision.
Definitely. And then going into 2011, you started up Dead Rabbits. I know, like you mentioned before, is sort of like another creative outlet. So how did that idea come to be?
That idea came to be just because of the difficulty in finding common ground from working on the self-titled. Uh, the band got a big bonus back then, and I see, I'm pretty positive some of the members just thought, I'm never going to have to work again. This is great.
Yeah, bling bling.
So, you know, when my mind is like, let's double down on the work and keep moving forward, it's like some of the other guys are, oh, let's slow down and we don't really have to focus as much. And that's kind of where we were butting heads. It's like, dude, let's get out there, let's tour this, let's promote, let's film some stuff. Like, and I still feel like I get that slack all the time, still trying to make stuff happen to this day. But at the time it was really bad. So we had some downtime. Um, one of the guys kept wanting to find a new management, find a new booking, and just completely changing up everything that had been working. You know what I mean? It's like we got to this point because if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like obviously
Exactly.
everything's working. Why are we changing everything up? It was like, oh, I was so pissed at the time. So I had some downtime and I'm like, all right, I want to work on something. I kind of miss being a little heavier and doing breakdowns and stuff. Let's start something. And my buddy Caleb Shomo, who is rocking the world with Beartooth right now.
Great band.
Um, yes, great band. I think he had just decided to leave Attack Attack. Um, and so he invited me to come out to his house. He's like, I got a studio. If you want to work on some music, let's do it. So I flew out there and we worked on some tunes, and that's what turned into the first EP. And I thought of naming the band Dead Rabbits because Caleb recommended that it just be a solo project, but the type of music it was didn't really lend itself very well to just calling it Craig Matt. You know what I mean? Like at the time, I was trying to imagine going on tour with a similar genre band, and I'm walking out on stage, and the backdrop says Craig Mabbitt. That's feels weird to me. Like I don't
Yeah.
like that. So I tried to think of a name, and I came up with a few in my head. And for some reason, while I was at his house, I was watching a lot of Gangs of New York, and I'm like, huh, Mabbitt, Rabbit. And I'm like, every time I do an interview or somebody posts something about me, they always miss my second T because they hear Mabbit, they think rabbit, they spell it like rabbit. I was like, all right, I'm going to call it Dead Rabbits, but I'm going to spell rabbit with two T's. There's the connection that explains it's my project, but it's like a group name. And that's how I
Nice.
decided on that name.
Nice. But tell me about like that first EP, Edge of Reality. I think that's a good EP. So what was sort of like the whole recording process like for that?
Oh yeah, it was just me at Caleb's in Ohio, snowstorms, leaving at 2 o'clock in the morning to drive through the said snowstorm to go get some White Castle burgers and like
Yeah.
just vibing it out. It was a really fun and enjoyable experience because it just felt like there was no pressure. There was no label, there was no timelines, deadlines, there was
Just
no
doing it for
fan saying
fun.
just doing it for fun again. Yes, and with a buddy. It wasn't like he was just doing it for fun too. So there was literally zero pressure about anything. It was just all about having a good time.
Nice. And then going into 2013, you went back in the studio with Escape the Fate and you did Ungrateful, another great
Yes.
album. Like, tell me about making this.
So that one, oh man, if the self-title wasn't a nightmare, this one was a nightmare too. This one was fun. I convinced the guys that we would go back to Feldy. Um, and we started working on some stuff. And again, one of the other guys said, I don't know, I don't want to do this. So it's like I I feel like that whole record sounded totally different before we made another change up. Um, but it was a good time to be back with him and work on the songs. And it was a little difficult because it's like, do we capture the sound of the self-title? Do we capture the sound of This War Is Ours, or let's just continue to do our thing? And I feel like you can hear that on the Ungrateful album, is it's like it has elements of both those first records without going, fully towards one or the other.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience, writing some songs that I was like, oh my God, the fans are gonna love this one. Dude, this one rocks so much. And then it just didn't really connect. Like Until We Die. I
Yeah. You also worked
loved
with
that
Brandon
song.
from Atreyu on that. What was it like working
Oh
with
yeah, we
him?
worked with Brandon from Atreya on that. It was great to work with him. He's such a talented guy. Um, just came in the studio and ripped it one day. Uh, really inspiring too, because when I sit down and I write songs, I can kind of get in my own head. So, seeing his confidence coming in was amazing, which is something I've learned being in the studio and writing with other writers a lot, that they just come in and it's like they don't care if somebody says it sucks or they say no. They're just like, all right, well, what about this one? And I really look up to that confidence.
Yeah. Then going back to 2014, 18 year later, you did the first full length Dead Rabbits album, Shapeshifter. I love
Mm-hmm.
that album. Like, tell me about making that. Of course, working with Andrew Wade.
Yeah, that's still one of my favorite ones, other than this newest one, Redefined, that we just did. But yeah, again, I felt the same way that I felt with Caleb, not fully because there was a little more pressure. There was like kind of this label involved, and there was pressure of wanting it to do well because obviously the label wants it to do well. But aside from that, it was a lot of fun. It's always great to just leave town and just focus on creating music. And there was no like hard deadlines or anything like that, which anytime I get into a record and I'm doing something like that and there's no deadlines, I always have a lot more fun.
Yeah. Like that whole song, that whole album's great. Like Shapeshifter, the title track, Make Me Believe It featuring Caleb Shomo. Like I feel like every song is just a banger.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and then next up, 2015, you did the next Escape the Fate album, Hate Me. I like this album, but I'm hard to believe it's now the 10-year anniversary of this. So how do you feel about this album
Oh
now,
my
10 years later?
God. 10 years.
Yeah, it's
Good
crazy.
Lord. Wow. I mean, that one was fun. I remember that's when I was like trying to bring back This War Is Ours sort of art style a little bit, which I'm still trying to bring back. We just did it for Out of the Shadows, but like hired the same exact artist. But
Yeah,
that one was a lot of fun. I believe that was the our first one going into the studio with Howard Benson, um, which was a great meetup because now I work with Howard with all my Dead Rabbit stuff,
yeah,
and his label Judge and Jury. And it was great working with him. The difference between him and let's say Feldy, which is the two main producers that I've worked with the most in my career, and probably the two main producers that I'll continue to work the most with. Um, the difference is like Feldy really pushes me and brings it out of me. Like, will want to kill me in the studio to hit certain things. Like I'll have migraines, headaches, like losing my voice in the studio with John because he really wants to get it. And it's fun because it's fun to push myself. Well, the fun part about Howard is he just wants you to do you as comfortable as you are. Like doesn't want to push you too much, just wants you to sound the best that just you naturally can sound. Um, and so that's always fun because it's like I'll finish tracking something and he's like, all right, on to the next part. And I'm like, well, was that good? Right. Was that good? Are you sure you want to move on? And he's like, well, did you think it was good? And I'm like, I don't know. Aren't you supposed to tell me?
yeah,
Because that was my experience up to that point was it's like, I would track something 50 times in a row until I heard it was good. You know what I mean? So to go in there and track something and it's like, all right, great, let's move on. I'm like, what do you mean? what, what are you talking about?
yeah,
And
totally.
I like having, the separate aspects of that and the experiences because I enjoy getting in the studio and creating.
Yeah. Yeah. And then next up in 2017, you did the next Dead Rabbits album, This Emptiness. I love it. I kind of liked how from like 13 to 17, it was kind of like a pattern. Like 1 year Escape the Fate album, 1 year Dead Rabbits. Like, how did you try to
Mm-hmm.
like find like a balance with everything?
Well, I'm still trying to find that balance with everything. Pretty much anytime Escape had a little bit of downtime, I would like, okay, here's the time that I can do some Dead Rabbit stuff. And now that I have Judge and Jury involved with DR, um, I'm already in discussions of starting the process of working on new Dead Rabbits music because we just finished working on new Escape the Fate. That way we have it in the back pocket. So we're going to start talking about and releasing the new Escape stuff, but during that process, start getting the new DR stuff ready so that once the album cycle starts to die down a little bit with Escape, boom, we're ready to go with new DR stuff instead of, okay, Escape, that record cycle's, kind of dying down now. Let's start doing some new DR stuff. That process always takes a little bit of time, but I want to just be ready to go this time around. So having different teams involved in both projects is great to do that. So I can just like plan things out accordingly.
Nice. Then 2018, you did I Am Human with Escape the Fate. Love this album. I feel like in my opinion, it's an underrated Escape the Fate album. Like, tell me about that.
This one was interesting. I feel like it might be that one stands out for some reason to me, as far as being different. And it the title of the record was a song that I wrote it on my voice memos in my iPhone when I was just having a really bad night, just alone in a room by myself. And the way it turned out, I was just so proud of how it turned out. It's like one of the first songs in a long time that I like sent my mom. I'm like, Mom, you got to hear this, just the lyrical content of it. I felt like I was actually saying something extremely, extremely positive that really connected me to the wider majority of just human beings. And it was also the first song that the band wrote to what I had already sung. Up to that point, we were just like, all right, what are you guys working on? And I would always get demos sent to me, and I would just write my vocals to the music. And then we would be like, oh, we like this one. We like how that one's coming together, or we don't like this one. And that's been our process. And it still continues to be our process to this day. But I Am Human was an interesting one because I just sent the voice memo and I'm like, we have to make this into a song. And everybody loved it. So the music was written behind my vocal. So it was
Yeah.
kind of opposite. Instead of me writing vocals to the music, they were writing music to my vocals, which was fun.
Yeah. I also love one my favorite song on here is Broken Heart. I especially love the video with like you playing in the phone with the girl in the shower.
Oh, yeah.
Especially you're getting a phone call, you're kind of like we're pausing like that. I thought that was
Uh,
kind of like a funny in there.
Yeah, that one was fun, man. We had a
Yeah.
good time doing that one.
Yeah, and I've seen some people says that song sounds so much like Help by Papa Roach. Like, did they ever come up to you? It's like, hey, listen to our song Help, and then listen to Broken Heart. It sounds very similar.
Um, Not them personally. They haven't come up to me and said anything, and I don't know. I mean, it definitely wasn't our intention. Um, I didn't hear it when somebody made the comparison. Like I remember hearing that people were making that comparison, and then I listened to it, and I'm like, maybe as soon as it kicks in, like the guitar sounds a little similar, but then it sounds like a totally different song once it jumps into it. So I don't know if it was like because it was the same producer
I think it's
or
Howard Benson. I think
what.
they also worked with Papa Roach.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Sometimes it happens, but I'm just so used to, like we talked earlier, just getting hate just because I'm not the original person from Escape. But
Yeah,
I'm also very used to we'll release something new. And if you look at the comments, it's like, oh, this sounds like this sounds like this. And it'll all be on the same song too.
yeah. Just
And
be like, fuck the haters.
it's like, all right, you just compared all these different users just compared this song to all the other bands that are currently crushing it right now.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you say that's a good thing?
yeah.
Like, how do we sound like 10 different people at one time? How does
That
one song sound
that's
like 10 different
crazy.
bands at one time? And if it does sound like 10 different bands at one time, and we're getting all those comments saying they hate it because of that fact, if we're able to sound like 10 different bands in one song, isn't that a good thing?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And then going into 2019, you did the next that Rabbit's EP, Break the Static. I love that EP, especially with the Gutter, of course, working with Courtney LaPlante, who would later on be killing it with Spirit Box. So
Oh,
tell me about
yeah.
making that.
That one was fun. It was just COVID, so there was nothing going on. And hey,
Yeah,
let's get together. Let's do some new Dead Rabbits music. And um, we even did a song during that time called Cobra Kai. It didn't make the EP, but I was watching a lot of Cobra Kai during the lockdown. This is when I was like, when everybody was stuck at home during COVID, I was getting sober and just working on music and rediscovering myself. So it was a very fun and enjoyable EP because of that fact. And um, just to have fun writing songs that weren't about anything personal or serious, like Cobra Kai that I just mentioned, or Dead by Daylight, because I was playing a lot of Dead by Daylight over COVID too.
yeah,
Those are some of my favorite ones we've done.
definitely. And during like that whole pandemic, I started getting into like, interviews and podcasts, hence why I started doing this and why we're talking.
Hey, that's why I'm sitting here with this mic and everything because I started streaming over COVID.
Yeah. Then next up, 2021, you did the last ETF album, Chemical Warfare. Love this album. Of course, working with Travis Barker from Blink-182 on Not My Problem and Lindsey
Hmm.
Sterling on Invincible. Tell me about making this.
That one was fun because we were back in with Feldy again, but you know, I guess I guess I just kind of keep repeating the same things about there being pressure or time constraints and stuff like that. And I'm coming to realize I forgot to mention we were on once we left Interscope, we went to Better Noise or 11/7. Um and they had a lot of opinions about what we were doing in the studio. If you I believe it's from I Am Human to Chemical Warfare if I'm not mistaken. You have the albums in front of you. So is Let Me Be on I Am Human and Chemical Warfare, or am I,
Uh,
because I know it's on
Let Me
two
Be.
albums. Yeah, Let
Let
Me
Me
Be.
Be. No, it's only on I Am Human.
Well, it's also on another album. I can't remember which one, but it appears twice.
Let Me Be. Let me see. Oh yeah, it's on Hate Me.
It's on Hate Me. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
even
so
I
it's
just
on
now noticed that.
yeah, so
Maybe
it's
it's sort
on
of like a newer version, maybe. I haven't listened to these in a long time.
no, it's the same one. So it was on, that's right. It was on Hate Me, and then it was also on I Am Human because of just people that, hey, our people at Spotify want to hear something like this. So it's like I just started feeling like I was writing songs for not us, but for somebody else. It's like, let's hear something like this. Let's hear something like that. Um, and that's when the styles and the direction that the band wanted to go, that was kind of like our paths were kind of separating from each other because, we still had Kevin in the group at the time. And over COVID, he started working with Travis because they
Yeah.
met
Now he's
obviously on
currently killing it
Chemical
with
Warfare.
producing and stuff.
He's currently killing it with producing, which is something he's always wanted to do. And his style of music is a little more on the pop rock sort of side of things. And so we were not clashing, but kind of our opinions were separating about the direction of the band and which way we wanted to take it. And we also had the label in our heads telling us what they wanted things to be. So those records were just it was very difficult because some of those albums had songs that I still to this day I don't like. And it
Yeah.
was like it's never fun to finish an album and be like, "Hey, what do you think about it?" I like this one and this one, but what are you going to do? And then it's like they want to release the one that you don't like at all as a single. And it's like they want the band to be excited about it. And you just feel like you're playing a role at that point, and that's never fun, dude. It's like,
Yeah.
man, I just want to make music and play shows and make people happy.
Yeah. And then going into 2022, did the last Dead Rabbits album, Rumination. I love it, especially work with some of the guest features like Dead by Daylight featuring Mizzo and of course The Edge featuring Ronnie from Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, so we decided to redo Dead by Daylight because it was on the EP. Um, and Mizo is what my daughter was going as at the time. So that's
Yeah.
actually my daughter that's singing on that track.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. And I still jam that song to this day because I just think it's awesome to hear uh, me and my daughter singing together on a song. And hopefully we can do it again sometime. But she's so awesome and she's super talented. And I think she sounds great on the track. And she also is really good with art. She actually did the single artwork for the Escape to Fate song Low. And she also did the single art for Cheers to Goodbye.
Yeah.
And so she crushes it. I'm super proud of her.
Yeah. And then of course the latest Escape the Fate album, Out of the Shadows. Love this album. I feel like it's kind of like a return to the roots for Escape the Fate. Like what
Mm-hmm.
was sort of like the whole writing and recording process for this one?
Well, this was like, okay, um, we're out of that cycle of the last label where we started feeling like I felt like we were losing a little bit of ourselves every new release. And so this was the first one getting out of that. And that's why it's kind of a return to form. And that's why I even contacted the original artist that did the This War Is Ours artwork to come and do the artwork for Out of the Shadows. So it was kind of like a return to form sort of thing. And now we're like, we're ready to go. We're geared up, and I'm so excited about this new stuff.
Yeah, and of course now you have like Eric Jensen officially in the band on this album. And of course, you got
Mhm.
Maddie Hoffman. Man, how did you guys find Maddie?
So we found Maddie. Um, Interestingly enough, I guess he was playing for Monty and Monty's band. Um, and then he was in a Dead Girls Academy for a little bit. Um, but I got in touch with him because it got to the point where Kevin was like, "Hey, I know you guys need me to tour, and I just can't. Like, I'm sorry. I This is such a good opportunity that I have doing the studio work, and I really want to focus on this." And I was like, "Totally fine, man. We'll find somebody to do it." So the search ensued, and I DM'd Jackie Vincent because I was like, "All right, Jackie's not with Falling anymore, and if there's anybody I can think of off the top of my head that can do that style and rip it on guitar, it's him. Let me just reach out to him and see if he would be interested in any way, shape, or form, or maybe he knows somebody." And he knew somebody. He knew Maddie.
Yeah,
So I got in touch with Maddie, and he was stoked to do it. And he's been such a great addition. And I love his attitude. And he's a rad dude, man.
yeah. Yeah, and especially like of all these songs like Choke and Low, especially having Low with Eric singing along with you. I think that's one of my favorite songs. Like, how did that song
Nice.
come to be?
That's like so Eric just had a bunch of ideas. He is always writing. He produces bands here locally in Arizona. He's also in Dead Rabbits with me. He is such a valuable asset to the writing process, and he is such a workaholic. So he was just working on a bunch of stuff, and I heard Low, or at least the chorus of it, just the chorus of it at the time, and I was like, that one's great. We got to do it. Um, and then the sound that I was hearing for the verses was just not coming out of me. Like I didn't want to hear my screams, but I also didn't want to sing it. Like I wanted more of like a yelly sort of tone for the verses of that song, as opposed to like just my fry sounding scream. Um, and Eric can do that sort of shouty, yelly, sort of aggressive vocal. And so I was like, we have to have Eric do it. And I know there's a little bit of pushback from Robert. And he's like, what do you mean he's going to sing every verse? And I'm like, trust me, it's going to sound great.
Yeah.
And I think he crushed it.
Yeah. And of course, tell me about Cheers to Goodbye. Of course, working with Spencer from Ice Nine Kills. Like, what was that whole, how'd that idea come to be to have him on the song?
So the band, during this record process, it was a true return to form because it's the first time we'd all just got together just as the band to do some writing sessions instead of all of us coming up with ideas on our own and then meeting in the studio and putting them all together. We were just getting together and hanging out and doing writing sessions, and that's where Cheers to Goodbye came from. The original version of the song, it was called Vanilla Sky, and it turned to Cheers to Goodbye. And then we got to the part that we wanted to be um, really like out of the box, sort of creative in that bridge where Spencer's talking. And it's like, I was doing it and I'm like, no, we should get somebody on it. It would be really cool if somebody else was on it because it's like an announcer. You know what I mean? Like it would be better if it was somebody else and it wasn't just like a random thing. And the first person I thought of was Spencer. I'm like, if anybody's gonna do this part justice in the way that I'm hearing it in my head, it's gonna be him. And he did. He absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, especially like with working like with these different artists. Like I know we've worked with Josh Todd from Buckcherry, we've worked with Ronnie with from Red Jumpsuit, and now with Spencer with Ice Nine Kills. Is that working collaborating with like different artists, like maybe like explore like open like doors for like new ideas for with Escape the Fate or Dead Rabbits or any of the
Oh,
other projects you've
oh
been a part
yeah,
of?
absolutely. My favorite part about working um with different artists and different vocalists specifically um is hearing how they interpret the song. Like Spencer didn't come in the studio and write the song with us. He just came in and he gave the part all the life and more that it needed. But when it comes to like working on a song, it's like, hey man, you want to write to this? It's always so fun to be like, all right, here's the chorus idea I had, or here's the verse idea I had, and then I hear somebody else's interpretation of the melody that they hear from the music, and it's always so fun. It's like, whoa, you heard that note there? I didn't even think about that. And it's a lot of fun. And sometimes it's like, oh, here's my idea, here's your idea. Dude, what if we Frankenstein the ideas together? Like, I really like how yours starts. Oh, I really like how yours ends. Oh, but I really like the middle part of yours. All right, well, let's figure out how to combine all those parts together and make it sound cohesive. And then you're like, this is it. This is how it needs to be. So, man, being in the studio is one of my favorite parts about being in the band. Like just creating the music and bouncing ideas off of each other like that. It's always so exciting.
Yeah.
That and seeing somebody, in the front row singing along to your song and it's helping them get through their day. Those are my two favorite parts of doing it.
Nice. And then of course going into to talk about the new latest Dead Rabbits album came out in March. I think it's a great album. So how has like the feedback been for Redefined?
The feedback's been great. I feel like there's a whole new energy when it comes to Dead Rabbits because Dead Rabbits just kind of turned into, oh, it's just my thing on the side. Like I'll pop in sometimes and do some new music for whoever wants to hear it. And every now and then I'll probably play an Arizona show, but there hasn't really been that many tours that I've done with Dead Rabbits at all. And I've always had this vision of it being like this masked band, from the movie gangs in New York that I used to watch all the time, and Donnie Darko. I always loved Donnie Darko, the image of Frank. I'm like, oh, I always want to introduce that. So having the labels help and finally getting those masks made has been a lot of fun. When we did that tour with Wednesday 13 in support of the Redefined album, it was my first time performing with the introduction of the imagery of the masks and stuff like that. And it was such a good time. And I was vibing with it so much because it's like I can kind of become something else, So just being on stage and being kind of behind this mask, I was just vibing with it so much. It was a good time. I can't wait to do more.
Nice. And so kind of also like in the end to sort of wrap things up, what's next for like Escape the Fate or Dead Rabbits? Have you got any other tours and stuff lined up if you're allowed to say?
Yeah. So right now, I mean, we just Escape just agreed to do this tour that I'm sure is going to be announcing soon. Uh, so I'm not sure I can talk about who it's
Yeah.
with or not
You'll
yet.
tell me when I turn off the recording.
But I know we're going out on the Emo's Not Dead cruise in January is the next thing we got coming up.
Oh,
Which
nice.
is run by Emo Matt and his band, Your Broken Hero.
Nice.
He's a rad guy. And then we're going international to a couple other countries, just like we just got back from Japan. Then we're gonna do that US run. Um, and then in the middle of all of this, we're gonna start dropping the new music. And then in the midst of all of that, I'm gonna start working on the new Dead Rabbit stuff. So there's not a single new Dead Rabbit song yet,
Wow.
but the process of starting that is happening right
Oh,
now.
you're keeping
And
busy,
then
Craig.
Oh yeah, and then we're currently getting mixes of all the new Escape stuff back. So the new Escape stuff is all tracked, recorded. It's there. I'm jamming the demos every day on my way to the gym and loving them. Right now it's just like, hopefully Christmas comes early and I get all the songs before the holiday because I'm just gonna sit there and rock them because I'm very excited about it. This has been the longest record process for Escape. We didn't want to
Wow.
have any deadlines, so we're like,
Yeah, I
let's
don't want to
start.
half-ass anything.
Yeah, we're like, let's start early and get in there. So we're working with Matt Good, who's local to the majority of the guys, because most of us are all Arizona based. Robert's the only one still out in Vegas. Um, so we started writing this record a year ago.
Wow.
It has been that long. Like if I go into the Dropbox, like some of those first bounce downs and rough mixes, it says like 7 months ago, 8 months ago. It's like
Holy
it blows my
shit.
mind. It's been the longest process because then it's like, oh, now we're going on tour. Then it's like, when is Robert available to come in and do the drums? And he's only available this time. Plus, Matt has like other artists coming in all the time and he's doing records for them. And we were laughing about it when I went in to just do some retrack some vocals. And he was like, bro, since you've been in here last, I've had another band come in, write their record, track it, it's mixed, and it's already come out.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy.
He's like that record's it's already out. Like that record's released. He's like,
Yeah,
and I still haven't started mixing you guys' record yet. I'm like,
nice.
Let's get on it, man. Let's start getting on it.
Yeah. But thank you, Craig, for coming on. It's so great to have you. I've pretty much have almost every trying to get every current and former Escape the Fate member, and you're like number five or four or five right now.
Oh, nice.
Nice, but
Heck
nice. In
yeah.
fact, Max Green is like my most viewed interview now with like over 8,000 views.
Nice. I love Max, man. We
Yeah,
still we still keep in touch. I
yeah,
married him. Did you
yeah.
see that?
Bring him back.
I officiated his wedding, dude.
Yeah,
That was like such
definitely.
a proud moment.
Hell yeah, that's awesome, man. But thank you, man. It's just any final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching us to close this out.
Oh, well, if you're interested in watching an interview with me, that means you're interested in what I'm doing. So all I got to say to that is thank you very much because you're the reason I'm still here and I'm able to do what I love to do, and that's to create music and play rock and roll. So thank you very much for being interested. And thank you for being interested in asking me questions and getting all those albums that you kept putting up.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I had some Dead Rabbit stuff. I heard some like one of your all's albums is like like costs like $100 on Discogs. And I can't justify spending $100 on a
What?
CD.
Which one?
I think it was like the first album or the first EP.
For Dead Rabbits?
Yeah.
Like a physical copy?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
I think I can't remember which one. I was like scrolling. I was like, "What?"
Who
I
the
can't.
heck is trying to charge 100 buckaroonies for that EP?
I don't know. Just people are just greedy bastards.
Yeah,
Yeah, I see
yeah.
like Edge of Reality, like CDR for $100. Fuck that.
Edge of Reality.
Yeah.
Dang. I wonder if I have. I don't think I have any laying around, but I'll look. If I find one, I got your email. I'll get it to you.
Appreciate it,
100 bucks
man.
for a CD. Get the heck out of here, bro.
Yeah, I can't justify spending that much, but thank you, Craig, for joining on. So, everybody, Craig Mabbitt from Escape the Fate and Dead Rabbits, and we'll see you next time.